Okay.
Okay.
Welcome everybody to today's show on the Good in the Head podcast. My name is Pete Jones and I am Good in the Head. Today I have a very special guest, someone that I absolutely loved meeting with my son. And before we get started, I'll just briefly share that experience. Dravyn, my youngest, was getting ready to go into boot camp into the U.S. Army, and we decided to have a 3-day weekend in Sedona together before he left. And it was a beautiful experience for us, and I miss him dearly, but I'm so proud of the decision that he's made to do this. Basically, what it came down to is at the end of these days, we were exhausted. We had done so much and fit so many activities in, and the last thing on our list to do that morning was to wake up early and go see the sunrise up on Bell Tower in Sedona, Arizona. And I was doing my morning routine, rewriting some things and posting. And I looked over at him and he was deep in sleep and exhausted like I was. And I thought, maybe we shouldn't go. And I had a feeling, no, we're going to do this. And so I said, hey, let's get going. He goes, all right, let's do it. And he was gung ho. He's young and very full of energy. So we drove as quickly as we could up to Bell Tower, and the sun was just about to come up. And we knew we could make it up there in about 20 minutes. And I had promised my wife that we would be home by 11 a.m. that morning for sure to help her with a party she was planning for him. And we were rushing because I didn't think we were going to make it in time. And as soon as we got to Bell Tower, we tried to buy the ticket and it wouldn't work. And I was so frustrated. And I was like, why? Why won't this work? And so after trying for 5 or 10 minutes, we finally went down to a different parking lot and thought, we can even park in town and run up there. And we ended up finding another ticket machine that did work, raced to the parking lot and made it up to the very tippy top of Bell Tower within 20 minutes. And I thought I was going to have a heart attack, but he was fine. He's young. As soon as we get to the top of the mountain, we see these two guys dressed in white with a camera stand. And it was obvious that you guys were actually in the middle of something and we didn't want to interrupt it. Yet here we had this human dilemma where I had made a commitment to my wife to be back at a certain time. And so I was humanly agitated. I was like, oh man, we don't want to be rude or, interrupt anything special. And I could feel the energy. It seemed like you guys had something special going on. And my son and I had the goal of putting our names and a little message in that metal box right where you guys were standing and talking and filming. And so we sort of waited until you were starting to take selfies. Your friend and from Bulgaria, Drink Rose Vibes is his hashtag name on Instagram. And I thought, maybe if I offer to take a picture, we can get over there and do our thing and then leave and they can continue on. But what happened was when I asked if I could take some pictures of you guys, we had an instant bond or connection with you, energetically, vibrationally. I don't know what you want to call it, but my son and I were drawn to you. And we were able to be taught how to open ourselves with our arms and legs wide open and face the sun and let the light into our hearts and rejuvenate the light. And as part of the next 45-minute discussion, which I knew we didn't have time for, but I couldn't help but have with you, we ended up hearing a blessing that you had invoked. And as soon as you started speaking this language of light, instantly I was transformed into a different place and time and into a different body where I was this huge Viking warrior with all this beautiful hair that I've never had in this life. And this massive beard, blood was spattered all over me. And I was screaming in victory. And I didn't know what that meant. And my son, as we were walking down the hill, said, Dad, I felt something really strong. Did you? And I later shared that with him. And I don't think I've ever told you this story, but when we were walking down, he said,
thank you.
Yeah, thank you. He said, Dad, this is the reason we came to Sedona, period. And I said, wow, what are the odds that we would come at this particular time, that the ticket machine wouldn't work, that we had to rush around and quote unquote, waste a little bit of time before we could get to our goal. And then to have this amazing experience with these two men. And he looked at me and he said, what are the odds? 100%, Dad. This was meant to be. And so thank you for allowing me to connect with you through social media and keep up with what you're doing. And thank you so much for that experience up there on Bell Tower that day. It was so beautiful. Before we get going, I know that sometimes you have a practice of offering a blessing or a prayer or an invocation to upgrade and up-level the vibrational and energy levels of the experience. And for anyone who may listen to this in the future and wish to know what you're about and connect with you, is there anything that you would like to say before I start asking you questions?
Well, first of all, Pete, it really touches my heart. It makes me emotional, what you just have shared with me. Because for me also, life itself is a surprise. It's a gift. And what God or Spirit is bringing to me in that moment is always also a surprise. And to meet up with you guys over there was perfect in alignment, because we were activating the new divine masculine energy in Sedona. And Sedona is a very high vibrational area, so everything what you manifest in that area will spread strongly around the earth. And the new divine masculine is more surrendering to the feminine and the unity, because feminine is unity, is infinity, to activate that within us so that we can let go of the struggles as Vikings. That we are new Vikings as protectors of the feminine, to honor that, and all the children that are being born out of that energy of consciousness, what the feminine and the goddess represent. Also what the Templars did in the old days, they protected the rose, and that's all symbolic from what's love, what is truth. And when you talked about the initiation, what we shared in that moment, what came through me, I already hear the language within me again coming back. Kiaturda atishishina, urda atai, kurnu umpurda atasuntu, uri ishishina, ihantu kurni antiati. Again, this is the language of light, the language of the divine, the language of the angels. And for me, it's the language of Michael, Christ, also connected to Yeshua. Urra hasianto, upu urra ishi hanurda ati kianuma ataa. Iminyana. It's the Christ within us. The Christ is the infinite spirit of all, and everybody has that God particle in our hearts, always present, guiding us always. And yes, it was very beautiful to share it with you and your son, especially also with your son in his new journey, to also to support him and you in the journey to come ahead. Also I know out of experience, it's not easy to let go of your own son. I had to do that in my own life. And you can see it in different ways, of course. It's not always easy to do that, especially not as a father, especially when you already have a connection with your son. In my life, that was different. My connection with my son is really on a soul level. You don't see each other, but you know that the path is perfect. You walk through, and that's the same feeling as you have to let go of your own child and son. And a lot of people are going through that, of course.
I love that.
Yes.
A little while ago, I practice a meditation almost daily, but part of that is inhaling light and love, and then holding my breath and letting that expand exponentially. And then I will envision my son, and as I exhale, I give him that light and love. And I hope he feels that. And I get it when you say we're all connected at a soul level.
Yes. That's where the truth will remain on a soul level, and the freedom. Yeah.
The language of light. I'm really interested in language. Myself, I've traveled a little bit. Years ago, I was able to live in the country of Greece for a few years, and I learned the Greek language. And knowing the derivatives of all the different words that come from the Greek language and that have created so many languages in its wake, I'm wondering where this language, the language of light, comes from. Is it written and read, only spoken and known within, or how common is it?
It's the language of all that is. It's the language of God, and it's the language of light. And that's what it is. And that language in itself is spread out in the whole universe. It's really the universal language, and everybody knows that language because it's vibration. It's a feeling. It's something that you will recognize within your own heart. It is God talking to God. It's light talking to light. And
That's
that's
why
what
I
it is.
felt it then. I felt something so massive. And so did my son when you spoke that in person up there on that tower as the sun was coming up. And it was incredible. I felt it.
And yeah, it's the language of love and light. The language itself, it's very powerful. And in the old times, it's not in these times anymore, but it's also, it can be an emotional language. So it's important that you speak the language from your heart. And it's now not possible anymore to do like, to use that language in a negative way, because we are like fallen out of that high vibrations deeper into the matter, to know ourselves, to acknowledge ourselves, to testify the truth as Jesus or Yeshua has proclaimed and taught us. And because when you do this really out of an emotion, then you also can put out a very strong vibration in a negative way. And we are now in a reality, and we are going back up, that you cannot use it that way anymore to harm others, because it will immediately reflect back towards yourself. And we are regaining again that knowledge and experience of that language of our soul. I hope that this makes a little bit sense. To me, it has been told that it's very important to, when you speak the language of light, do it from your heart. I did it once, that it was more an emotional thing. And yeah, you really can create tension in somebody else's light body. It's not, and you can feel it in the physical in that way. So I just want to mention that it's a very powerful language in that way, and always use it from when it's really guided from your heart and your inner being. Yeah. So the language itself, it's something that you will receive. You only can receive that language if you are high enough in your vibration that you can embody your soul into your physical body. When you have that experience, you will feel the language within yourself. You will feel your soul vibrating on that vibration, and then you will hear and feel the language, and then you can speak it.
So to
So
learn this language isn't even necessary. It's actually already within us. What we need to do is connect with light and love, and then it will become an outpouring naturally. Is that?
Yes.
You know, that's interesting that we're speaking about language in conjunction with vibrations and energy. Abraham Hicks is someone that I happened upon, and her story was interesting because she claims to simply connect with the divine through meditation. And her description of the divine is an entity called Abraham, made up of many souls and much wisdom. And she says that it's not words that she hears in her mind and then expresses into the English language, but rather vibrations. that she then translates into English. I thought
Something
that
that
was
happens. Yeah.
fascinating. It's really interesting to me. Um, Now, my wife and I were talking this morning. You and Kalina, your twin flame, were on a podcast that we had listened to while we were working at work one day, and it was beautiful. And the way that you both work in conjunction with the feminine and the masculine, and uh, sort of magnify and amplify that for others, is
Yeah.
really amazing, and it's interesting. And she loved the interview. She really connected with Kalina
Right.
and everything she was saying. Um, she listened to some content that kept referring to her as what was called a star seed. Is this anything you've come across, that
Yeah.
term?
Well, star seeds or light workers, especially now the children are very lot star seeds. The main goal of them is just to be present on Earth because they radiate a high vibration of light, and that's the foundation already to do and to maintain that vibration as good as possible. You always incarnate in two parents that you have chosen to incarnate in, and the biggest mission is to transform that DNA, the genes, from that physical DNA to the spiritual DNA, and that's the main goal that also star seeds have. And they come in different forms, of course. Um, Star seeds in itself, they are already coming a long time to Earth to help to transform Earth to a light body and to raise the vibration. And in the old ways, it was very hard to be and exist here as a star seed on the planet in the harsh environment of the matter. So, yeah, a lot of things happened in that time, also in the experiment within the experiment. We not always realize that we are an experiment of a creation itself in this part of the universe. And yeah, so the star seed in itself, the word itself says that actually already it's a seed of the stars. So they bring in the seed, they plant the seed so that it can evolve in beautiful flowers of light. And yeah, I'm one of them in that way. I already have, of course, also have lived more lives. So yeah, it's every time that we are on a mission. And some people are from Earth itself, so they grew up from the genes of Earth. You could say, if you believe the story about coming from the Lemurians or the apes, or how do you want to call that, that evolution. There are different stories about that. It's for everybody itself to believe what is true within it. And then you have the people that came from above, and that integration of the higher light bodies into the lower bodies. In that way, that's like the evolution itself. And that's also the biggest mission of star seeds. And those missions, they are very unique for everybody still in existence, because everybody has its own blueprint. Everybody is in that way the one creator of their own reality and what they experience. Yeah, same as in quantum physics. They now, and that's funny, since 2012, they have found a God particle. That's only one particle, and that one particle is everywhere at the same time, infinitely in superposition. And that's only one particle. This means that every one particle within itself is expressing everything as a reflection from within. And that one God particle is in your own heart. Yeah.
Once heard a statement that was really beautiful and deep, and it kind of opened my mind to everything. And it was that consciousness informs itself through its creations. And I thought, wow, isn't it interesting how, I mean, we're creating something right now, a piece of content to share with the world. We're creating a lifestyle. We're creating on a very human scale, this human plane, all of these human things. And these things then turn around and inform us. We get a constant feedback loop of how we can do better next time, or how we can change something to upgrade the self-image, or this personal reality we're now living in as humans.
I want to when you say better next time, in essence, in truth, there is no next time because there's only now. And in that way, better does not exist. Kiatu urda ata sumpuri ti ita antaka. Isiantu uru sati iti inyani. When you think that you have to do something better, then you're saying actually in the moment that what you have now is not good enough.
And then that's a creation.
Exactly. So in this moment of now, all is already perfect. And when you know this and realize this, then you're going to create only that what is perfect, because only now exists. And then the law of attraction kicks in, and you will attract that what you believe within yourself.
Which is perfection in every moment.
Yes, and things that are not perfect, that's a judgment of ourselves, a criticism, what will be reflected back again. And the things sometimes that are not perfect, they are perfect from a higher perspective.
I love that.
And the ego mind is going to realize why things happened afterwards, not before. So we have to let go of control. We have to let go of fear, that everything happens for a reason, that God doesn't make mistakes. And then you are becoming the observer.
How do we do
To become the
that?
observer of your reality, we need to meditate on certain things that we can let them go.
Are there certain practices that we can implement into a daily ritual of some kind, certain mantras, things to say and repeat that will up level the vibrational frequencies that we operate at in these human bodies? I know it's, again, I'm going back to, it can get better, but I'm
That's
kind
okay.
of
No, that's
fascinated.
okay. Let's embrace getting better. That's the reason. If you do not say getting better, I could not give you the answer what it means. So it has its opposite. Negative in that way is positive, and sometimes positive can be negative. It's relative in what kind of situation you are. So atiatu purda arni sinanturi ta ati inya ni suhurda ata kihinya. So I came across three things, and that way everything comes in three. The one, if consciousness gets aware of itself, and there's a difference becoming aware of something and being conscious of something. It's a little bit similar, but still there's a difference within it. There are immediately are three things in creation. So those three things, what the best thing to do is in my life, what I've experienced and where I still am now, is the first thing you need to do in life always, and that's also something that Abraham Hicks says, is connect with source. You are source energy. In my wording, I would use the word God, because God for me has the highest vibration in that way. And then the name of God, you can say I am, Sai Ada, or Ada Sai, and so it is, Amen or Om. So connecting with your true self, with the source that you are within you, with God within you, God makes more like that you have an interaction with a personality. Okay, the beings that we are, the social beings that we are, we want to relate with something, with somebody. Okay, and that's because we are emotional beings. We are love itself, and we are grace itself. If we have lack of attention, of acknowledgement, of love, we feel sad, because we need connection. So that's why also you have God and you have the goddess. Okay, the word goddess itself is really rising now in consciousness. So connecting with God, connecting with your higher self, is the most important thing for me always to do first. And why that is because everything in your life is a reflection of that relationship that you have with your true self.
Can we call that self-image or self-identity?
Yeah, let go of the identity, let go of the image, because in love itself, and that's God itself, is love. Okay, if you take the nature of God, it's love. It has, in that way you can say source, because source itself has no personality. Okay, if you take an identity you can refer as an identity, it needs to have qualities. Then you can refer that's an identity. on ego, if you will. Ego in Latin means personality. Okay, and it's the personality in itself can be positive and negative. Sometimes people say ego is always bad thing, but that's not in my opinion, because ego itself is like a form where spirit in itself can be lived through and have an experience in different many ways. If we can go into this, we already can have a discussion about this topic, because you already have different perspectives on this. So I don't like in that way the word discussion, because then you are dissing something and make something that it's negative. And in God's field, everything is possible, even negative things in the illusion. In the reality, they do not exist. But in the illusion, or let's say the realistic illusion, they do exist. Because in the now moment, you always experience in that what in that moment is real for you. And in other reference, it cannot be real, or from somebody else is saying, well, that's way off. Okay? So, because God is truth, the oneness of all is truth, and freedom is truth, because in the oneness of spirit, everything is possible. And just refer this to yourself in your dream state. Okay, we are like in the likeness of God. We are in his image, created, if you take then the image. But let's take away the image. If you go into the void of existence, in the nothingness, in your true being, because you are existence itself, like a personality or an entity that we are clearly connecting at this moment in Sedona is Bashar. And his teachings is, first of all, the first law is you exist, and that's why you will always exist, because energy cannot be destroyed. It's not possible. It can only change, and it's always changing. But your core being of your true self, you can say that as God, the God particle, is never changing. It's the unity field of oneness. You can also say the 0 point field of zero, that is one, is never changing. It's only observing. And at the same time, it's one with all. It's experiencing everything at the same time also. And so that highest vibration, that is positive always, because if the one particle would not be positive in that way, it would be negative. It cannot be in existence. Only something that exists that can create something. Nothing cannot create something. Only in the illusion, something comes forth out of the nothingness, out of the void. Okay, but that means that it's already in the void. It's already in the nothingness. This means, in reality, if you really look at it, the void is full of everything.
I like that
Nothing
definition.
is everything. You know, it's always, how do you say that? Complementaire. You can also say black or white. It's the same thing. It doesn't mean that they can exist. There's a saying like the light cannot exist without the dark. In my opinion, it's not true. The dark represents shadow, and you need to have an object to have a shadow. Okay?
And light.
But that's in matter. So matter in that way, in duality, you can apply that sentence. But in the void that is full of light, it's not true.
It's just light.
Exactly.
Are there varying degrees of light, do you think, within the void? Or is it just, are there varying degrees of light, like more light, less light, or is it just light?
In the oneness of all that is, in one particle, in that way, there's only one. So we can only say that there's light. And even the word light is even not there anymore. There's no word. There's only existence. So, in that way, in truth, the sun symbolizes that what it is, as in the teachings of the I am, and in the I am words in itself, it's only there to acknowledge that what is. And that's why you only say I am, and you're not putting anything behind that.
I love that. That's interesting. I remember showing you my tattoo that I had gotten this last year, and is the words I am ... And then my egoic mind and my human state on this plane, I tend to want to define myself as things that are empowering and creative. And as I think as we all vacillate between the human experience and a human body and that which we are, I am, or source, or light, that more and more I'm seeking out people like yourself to find tools to implement within the human realm to then up level the possibility of connecting more often with source.
Yeah,
And you said the first of three things is always connecting with source, reconnecting, and being that.
yeah. If you define I am, and I'm now going to share things that I actually want to share also in the I Am webinar, and I'm going to explain a little bit more also like in visual aspects. But if you only say the word I, you can feel within your own being that you're connecting more with your brain, more with your mental mind and I. So that's masculine. And if you say I, what I feel within myself, I feel my thoughts and more thoughts because our brains are also receptive. So you receive the ocean of thought forms on this planet in this reality where you are now. Okay, so it's a form of telepathy. Okay, if you have an intention and you connect with somebody, you can hear their thoughts. Okay, but if you not do that and you're just in the I, then you feel your brain moving. That's what I feel. And you pick up a lot of things. You're not grounded. Okay, so when you say I am is beingness, is feminine, I is masculine. So if you say I am, you're connecting with your own feminine energy, and that's connected to literally Mother Earth. So I is connected to the sun, and the am is connected to Mother Earth. The I am in itself is also within the sun itself, because if you say I, then you have like the I as the sun, and the am is the beingness or the energy, the infinite field of energy that is like generating within the sun and then expressing itself through light outwardly. So if you take the words I am, that's only like a sun, let's say, vibration. So God itself is, the G is generator. So the sun is through the sacred geometry, okay? There are fields of matrix fields within the sun, even on the earth, and after a human being has a light body. Because of that construct and projection through the spirit, the mind of spirit, okay, the atoms are going to swirl like a yin-yang sign within the sun. So it's building up power, generating. And then the consciousness within the sun is operating that consciousness, that light, that field, all the atoms. So that's the O of God. Then the D is the destructor. Okay, sometimes things need to be destroyed or pulled back out of existence. And if you look at that, everything is changing all the time. This means they come forth out of nothingness, what is full of everything, because or else it could not come forth out of that presence. Okay, and then you operate it, you work with it for a certain amount of time, and then it's going away again. So it will be destroyed. And that's why everything is changing continuously. And in this way, do not be attached to something that's outside of yourself, what is being projected from your inner being, because then you're living in an illusion. Okay, so the attachment is connected to the seventh chakra, illusions are connected to the third eye, and then the truth, okay, that's connected to the throat chakra. You can relate to that to the will of God. And then your solar plexus, that's your ego, that's your, let's say, for reason, the third chakra is your personal will. So that alignment again, why you need to connect first with God in your reality is connecting with truth, so that you're not living in illusions, not living in lies. That means that you always will be in balance within yourself.
How
In
do
this way,
you
that's why
personally,
it's, sorry?
I'm sorry, not to interrupt, but
That's okay.
it brings up a question. How do you connect?
I don't, in that way, in my manifestation, I do not have to connect because I am. Tianina marukur di anti. Sisiata anta oratai. Ininya nisihina. Okay, but here comes to be in that embodiment, okay, always is, well, I don't believe in tests, but you can see it as tests, okay, from a dualistic perspective.
Okay.
So if there's a trigger in my reality that comes forth, okay, then I can lose my connection. But because of my life, I have gone through, and my self-realization, and that's an experience, okay, you cannot read this in a book. You have to have that experience is in your self-realization. I can share this, and now I am embodying this, what I am in this reality now. So I'm vibrating, I'm shining my light in this world. Okay, I'm vibrating my light out of this world, and that's where when you connect with me, I'm vibrating with you, and that resonance is helping each other. So then my vibration can come into your subconsciousness. Okay, the subconsciousness for 95% creates our reality, and that's the mother goddess of all. The 5%, what is our ego mind, it's also in the brain in that way, creates a reality. And that 5%, you can see that as the sun, that is as God, you know, and then the subconsciousness is the goddess. That's the void. Okay, and then you have like in the creation itself, you have three. So you have higher consciousness, higher, yeah. Then you have like your lower consciousness, or let's say your subconsciousness, because yeah, in that way, and then you have your consciousness. Those three exist immediately when creation, when consciousness itself becomes aware of itself, immediately you have a trinity.
And they work in conjunction at all
The
times.
sun itself. Yes, and that's what we are. We are like in our light body, we are like stars flowing as a drop in the ocean, swirling into the infinite ocean of creation. Just keep it simple. See yourself as one drop in those waves. If you go to the quantum physics, we also see that the waves, the particles are in a wave, in an ocean of particles, in a 0-point field. And then the mind is projecting something in that reality. That's what we do every night when we sleep, from our consciousness and subconsciousness. So we are in likeness of God. What happens within us, very small, is also what is in the big universe. So that connection again, in relation to that what you are within your own self, the God particle, what is the infinite spirit is unseen, but it's can only be felt, is within you. And that's a self-realization, realizing yourself who you truly are. And that something is not, we are the God particle, and then the God particle creates something that it's like not. Only in unity it can be that what it is. Okay? And this is also now an explanation what is very mental, because you really have to feel this in your own experience to understand what I'm saying. That's why Jesus said, the one who has the ears to hear will hear. The one who has the eyes to see will see. And that is related to your own experience in your own consciousness within your own life. Okay, and maybe past lives. And they are still in your subconsciousness, like hidden, and some things that you have not embraced yet, where you not have bring light and love towards too, still has to come up to the surface.
Past lives.
You can be enlightened, you can have experience of light, you can, yeah, go on, sorry.
Oh, sorry. The whole past life experience, the possibility of reincarnation. I wasn't really introduced to these ideas as a possibility, or maybe more like I never accepted them as a possibility with an open mind. And I was very stuck until about the age of 42, and then decided, I'm suffering a great deal. I'm massively depressed. I don't want to live this life anymore. What can I do to change this personal reality and this human experience around, and sort of do things differently in order to perpetually create a better lifestyle? And to be able to then be open enough to think about these ideas I feel like all along I was preparing myself. I'm in control, but now I realize I was being prepared for this one moment in time to learn something about myself so
Yes.
divine in nature that I'm excited. And I don't mean to keep interrupting. I apologize. But you're making me
No, no, that's okay. No worries, because
think.
sometimes I just can't keep on walling and talking, and sometimes I get off my track. Okay, so
And,
that's okay.
and another question
Um,
for you
and I
too.
also go too much in my mental mind sometimes, so I have to connect also again.
Uh, Is that what you're doing? Are you reconnecting every time that you speak the language of light after every
Yes,
break? Okay, so
the
you
language of
use
light
that.
is yeah, it's God's language in that way. So you're connecting with a higher aspect of yourself, and let's say that the vibration of God's reality in the manifestation, okay, because that's different as the God particle. The God particle is everywhere at the same time, always everywhere. And that's also the consciousness of God as a source itself. Okay, but if you go in the reality of the manifestation of God, that's such a high vibration in the dimensions. Okay, if you would experience that vibration now in this reality, you would burn. And there are indeed stories about yogis who have like a conjunction in that vibration, and they will burn away. There are even images of people who just left a burn mark, and that's all that was left, because they really were in an instant they've burned up,
And can I
because
interject
that's a high voltage, literally. You have to, yeah, go on.
that that thought? I always thought, oh, that's total BS. However, I follow a cellular biologist, Bruce Lipton, and he explained how each cell within the human body has 1.4 volts. There's 50 trillion cells that make up the human body. Now, 50
Okay.
trillion times 1.4 volts then equates to right around 700 trillion volts. So I believe now that's absolutely a possibility for someone to access something within this human form and then combust or burn up for sure. That's so interesting
Yeah,
to me.
I have experience within that, even in a way that sometimes too much consciousness can come into the body, and that's actually also too much light in that way, and that's also consciousness. So when that light comes into the physical body, and the physical body is related to experience of the past, okay, that needs to be transformed yet into love and light through grace. Okay, and when you have not the ability to apply that grace and compassion into your reality, and you need to have wisdom to do that, okay, then they can come up into your consciousness as a real experience in your mind, and then you have like, you can have psychotic experience. And then your mind, your brain cannot comprehend that information. Okay, and then your body's going to be shut down and you lose contact with this reality. Still you're living in your own mind reality and projections that you need to transform. Like the Indians really honor the psychosis because it's a huge transformation, but that transformation needs to be guided through somebody who, first of all, has to be strong enough in his energy and light that they can calm down that personality who's going through that, so that that personality can give love to that personality, because they need love. They need to be understood and understood, and not being shut down with a needle and pills, because that's
Yeah.
numbing them down.
Oh, so
Sometimes in that reality, because, yeah,
you said the Indians, Eastern Indians from India, uh, actually honor people
both.
that are experiencing symptomology of psychosis. Is that what you said?
Yeah, and in that way, yes. And
Because
especially in
wow.
those areas, they will always be guided in that process. It's
Hmm.
the Kundalini awakening. So the fire of your Kundalini, of Mother Earth, is going up. It's cleansing your body, your physical body, and then so that your soul can be in your physical presence, and then your physical body will vibrate in higher vibration. So your cells are going to vibrate higher. When I speak my light language, the science now literally has discovered that a cell is lighting up literally when light language is been spoken. So you are going to vibrate in a higher vibration. That means that time goes quicker in your reality. Okay, and you have to be ready to do that, because if time goes quicker into your consciousness, okay, your images within your own being, like if you have a negative experience, let's say with your parents or whatever, okay, and you have not been loved enough by your parents, and that's normally because that's the evolution of that reflective consciousness. Okay, and that's not that the parents are wrong or whatever. No, they are where they are, and you have chosen to have that experience and reflection, maybe to resolve something within yourself that you have done to them as a grandparent, because that can be done. That's how karma works, because of the unity. Everything that you will give away in your life will come back. It's just a law. That's because the quantum physics now is they are realizing now in science that this is the truth, that there's only one particle. So everything that you give to another particle is the same particle, because that's you. Will come back in the loop. In space and time, it will take some time before it comes back in this reality because of space of time. So that can be a blessing. You know, if you now think of something and it would immediately manifest, if you just wish something bad and it will manifest immediately, that would not be nice in physical reality. So if you go into forgiveness, it will transform immediately because time in reality does not exist, only now.
What does that look like going into forgiveness? Is it forgiveness of self, of others,
Always.
everything? And
that's why they asked Jesus also, how many times do we need to forgive somebody? And just keep doing it until your consciousness, that consciousness within yourself, is transformed. And things still will come up. For instance, I had like an accident with the car, and I was really within myself. I felt like guilty about it, and I could not stay in my alignment. Why? Then Kalina asked me, how did your parents respond to you when you did something that was like damaging something in material? And then something came up, a memory of how my father, mother responded towards me. And they were not loving about it. They were really like attached to that, you know, and then I started crying. So still something came up of my subconsciousness. And yes, I already had my oneness experience with Christ. Okay, Christ came into me completely, and it was completely of light and perfect vibration in that moment. Useful. It was an amazing experience. And I speak light language. You know, I know the path. I am the path, etc., etc. I can be in my ego like I'm a spiritual teacher. No. You know, just very simplistic. When your inner child has experienced something that's still there, it will come up.
It is
and then you
so
have
easy.
to embrace that. Yeah.
It's
and you
so
have to
easy
realize, if you're going to realize yourself, your true self as a child within you, only as a child you can come into the kingdom of God. And the vulnerability, the sensitivity as a baby is still within you. You cannot deny that. So it's so sensitive if something happens like that. It's in your genes, programmed literally, you know, and then something as that will come up and needs to be released.
I love that. You know,
And
Bruce,
that's something is humility, you know, you're going to bow down for that sensitivity and the oneness and the love that we are. Yeah.
I love
How
that.
are you responding towards your brother and sister in life? That's why Jesus also said, treat another as you want to be treated.
It's not easy
There's
when
so
we're
much meaning
stuck
in
in our
that if you really
egoic
have
mind.
realized yourself.
There really is.
Yeah.
So often in this human experience, it's just natural. It's easy to get caught up in the egoic mind and judgment and criticism and uh, being programmed as young children the way we were by loving, well-meaning parents. We also experienced trauma, not that we were all, you know, being abused, but the trauma of misperceiving some of the teachings our parents were trying to share with us by reaching out and lashing out at us in anger in order to manipulate us in some way to act differently next time or to be better, like we were talking about, right? And there are ways.
Yeah, and that
There are ways, according to Bruce Lipton, where we
be better
can.
consciousness. Yeah,
Sorry, go ahead. There's a delay. Go ahead.
I understand. But go on now with Bruce Lipton.
Okay. He said that there are some ways through hypnosis, meditating on certain ideas right before and right after sleeping, and also through repetition that we can then go in and reprogram this subconscious mind. And you referred to the subconscious mind as Mother Divine. Is that right?
Yeah.
That grok's for me. That makes sense. That's interesting. Sorry to interrupt you every once in a while.
No, it's fine.
The delay is sort of prevalent right now. Darn it. Go ahead with what you were saying, please.
I already forgot because I'm very living in the moment.
Which is a great practice. You said the first of the three was to connect with Source, with what we truly are within this human body.
And that connection with God, with Source, with your own true self, is your personal relationship with yourself, in essence. Okay, and that connection, that relationship will be reflected
by what we do and prioritize.
Yeah, it will be reflecting your reality. Let's take this example, or maybe analogy. See your higher self as the light, the lamp. Okay, and then you have your 7 chakras in your system. They are like lenses. And that light shines through those eyes or lenses as your chakra system into your reality.
Creating it.
Okay. So your let's simplify this. You have your higher consciousness as your higher self. Okay? And that's connected to the sun. Then you have your subconsciousness as your low self, that's connected to Mother Earth. Let's say if you go also to Bruce Lipton, because he said it also, that like 95% is your subconsciousness. And 5% in that way is your consciousness. And then you also have your higher consciousness. So that's the Trinity. Now, see, if you have the sun, it's in the void. Okay, so let's say that the void in itself is the 95% of the subconsciousness of the 5-9% of creation, the void. Now let's say that the sun in itself is the 5% related to our brain as the sun as consciousness of creation, God, goddess, and spirit. So spirit is the light that comes out of the sun. Okay?
Okay.
Can you follow me? If you do not follow me, please answer, because then it's very important to have this like visualization or awareness of that.
I'm seeing it up here as you're saying it.
Perfect. That's your third eye, and your third eye is also related and connected to the sun. So your third eye is as the sun within the void, projecting light. That's your third eye. Okay, left brain, right brain, father, mother, masculine, feminine. Okay, so your higher self in that way as a human being is related to the sun as your relationship with God or the Father, Son. The mother is within the father.
It's within the what?
The mother spirit is within Father, Son.
Okay, got it.
Yeah? Then the light that those two emanate out of the sun, because the sun in itself is like a geometry, a construct. Within the sun, the energy is moving as a yin-yang sign. And through that experience, the sun will explode. And that's the light. Every time, like a heartbeat, it is emanating as waves, light out of the sun. Okay, especially in these times, we have different sun explosions, eruptions on the sun, and we have different magnetic impulses that are coming to the earth that is now transforming us as human beings into light beings. We're transforming the physical body, and that means that we have to go through those transformations, transforming our subconsciousness. Okay? Now, see your body, your light body, as one lens of light, okay? And we are receiving the light of the sun in our lens, as our body, expressing and projecting that light on other people in this reality, on physical projections on matter, okay? And that light sinks through our body into the earth, because within the earth, okay, there's a sun, okay, and then around that light is formed matter. Because of the distance from the sun, it's cooling down, because that has a like a minus polarity, and the sun is positive. And if you look at the water, the H2O atom, same thing. The core is positive, the outer core is negative. So our universe in that way is like an atom, a water atom. And then you go back to the cosmic ocean. So that's a beautiful example how that works.
Yeah.
So higher self positive, okay, higher consciousness positive, subconscious negative, okay, and then we have our personality, that's our consciousness. The subconsciousness will be projected in our expression, in our reality, okay? Our subconsciousness will be programmed the first 7 years in our lives, strongest, as when we are a child. 7 is holy, 7 chakras, it will come back every 7 years, it will come back. Okay, so to go to simplicity, higher self, higher consciousness, lower self, subconsciousness, and then you have your consciousness. Okay, so your higher consciousness is 100% in oneness with all of creation. That's the I am presence. Okay, then your higher consciousness is divided in 2 consciousness, subconsciousness and consciousness. Subconsciousness is 95%, consciousness is 5%. The same way that the sun is the 5% and the void of all that is the 95%. The sun is a unity, it's 100%. We are not a unity because we, with our thoughts in between, and the projection that we have in our reality, we are out of balance. And that this balance of shadows is like stored in our subconsciousness. So we are like, the subconscious is like a hard drive. We are the software as human being. And the sun in this universe, we can say that that's the source of this universe, connected to the source of all that is. It's like a system. So the big source of all that is, the great I am presence, Father, Mother, God of all that is emanating light through their sons, okay, children. They receive light, like its whole system. So our sun is receiving light from the central sun, and that emanates within our human bodies. And we are also sons, we are also children. But we, with our free will and our thoughts and our past experiences, programming our consciousness, subconsciousness, okay, hard drive. So now, because of the light is amplifying, more light is coming into our bodies, physical bodies, and that light sinks through our system into our subconsciousness. This means our negative experiences that we have blocked as shadows that we do not want to see are coming up now in this reality. That's why the world is chaos. We have all those projections and different realities that are now emerging into one. That's why we have all those different experiences and different realities, different choices now that are coming forward.
And it seems like a lot of people are creating from a place of fear and darkness rather than light and love, especially with this whole COVID crisis or whatever you want to call it. People have...
Yeah, that's perfect. Because COVID is giving us the possibility now to make different choices. And there are people who are still remaining in the low vibrations of their chakra system, and they are not ready yet, conscious yet, to receive that higher light. Okay, so they will make choices that are based on the first 3 chakras. That's what they project in their reality.
What
so
can they do differently to open themselves to that light and create different things?
That's their own free will choice and their own experience, what they are choosing now to experience. There's no judgment on that. Mm-hmm. The same way with my parents, they are choosing now to take the second vaccine in their reality. And everything what I push to them, look at this, look at that, this is the possibility, negative, maybe there's nothing going to happen. But they are only rejecting even more that because I'm their child, I'm the son. Yeah. That vibration in consciousness, okay, will only reflect back even more. The only thing that I can do to help them is to transform my own subconsciousness. because they have projected their consciousness on me, okay, from their subconsciousness, what they have, what has been projected on them from their own parents.
So it's best
So
then
it
to
always
just,
mirrors back.
it's best, Jen, like you said, what we put out is what we get back. And it's something that my wife repeats often to me as a reminder. And if all we're putting out is light and love and energy, then that's what we're going to get back from every source, every situation, circumstance, and event. There's
In
this,
your own reality.
yeah,
And you're not changing somebody else, because somebody else can still make the same choices even when you're sending them love, because that's the power of free will. That's the power of the one God particle that is residing within every cell. Even in the stones is that one particle. And if you look at that one particle, it's only doing one thing. It's smiling. It's full of joy. It's full of bliss, because it has the absolute freedom to do and to create whatever it wants, always infinitely.
I love that.
That's true freedom.
There's a practice.
And that one particle is positive, because if it would not be positive, if that one particle would be negative, there would be no existence at all. And that's not possible. Only in illusion it's possible.
I love the perspectives that you have and the way that you look at things from the experiences, the knowledge, and the wisdom that you've gained from within. I absolutely love that. There's something that I was able to experience inside of myself at one point where I had these visions. It was really wild and not used to things like this, but I remained open to it and let it give me a download or a message, whatever you want to call it. I felt connected to source that day. And the message was no judgment, no criticism, be the observer, let go and let be. Love all things, especially yourself, exactly as they are. And that was the message I got. And so I try to repeat that every single day, and it helps.
Okay. Now, you're changing your reality by changing your consciousness, because your consciousness is the observer. And at the moment that you make a choice in your consciousness, then you give the quantum reality a position in your reality. So when you can stay and be in the observing phase, you're not doing that anymore. Okay, and then you're allowing your higher self again, that is of a higher vibration, flow through you. And you're not afraid anymore, because criticism, in essence, if you look at it, and judgment is always based on fear. You're literally saying that something can be better.
So to accept all that is as perfect, exactly the way it is.
Yes.
Is all we need to do.
That's the paradox. That's the paradox of this reality. So we are trapped in time. It's a paradox, because we see something outside of ourselves, and then we are defining it what it is, okay? And then at the moment that we do that, we accept it, we can let it go and just be observing it. At the moment that you criticize it, then you get caught up in the loop.
Mm-hmm. I do, so often, yeah.
Yeah, and that's, you only can transform it when you disengage from it, and that you are getting aware of something, what is coming from, what is the origin of that, what it is. And that's why you come at the third thing that you need to do in your life is talk with wise people, that you have the reflection in your reality so that you can become conscious of. The second one, the first one is God, and the second one is breath, the breath of life.
I love that.
Okay, because life itself is the breath of God, the breath of the sun, the light in itself is the breath. The heart beat is a breath. It's an in and out of breath every time. So breathing is also freedom. Think of COVID now, what they do with the masks. The negative energy is putting on the mask so that we cannot breathe anymore, so that we cannot speak our truth anymore. Okay, so they are afraid so that the truth will come up. And this is beautiful that this is reflective now towards us, because this is exactly what is showing us now in reality. So our subconsciousness from the whole planet is afraid now of the light that is coming in from the sun, that is coming up from our subconsciousness now. We don't want to speak out. We don't want to forgive. We'll be the masculine energy is coming up, where we are afraid of losing our toys, our beautiful creations from the ego mind that we have built now, that is not in alignment with God. We're creating an AI, a robot. We are trying to improve God's creation, that is the human being itself. It's never going to happen. It's not possible. It's not organic. Okay, it's never going to be that.
I think I agree with you
we
there.
cannot comprehend that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's a beautiful reflection of what's going on. This is also related to my dream that I had when I was 3 years old. I was 3 years old and I had a vision about, that was also a past life, by the way, but I had a vision of a fortress. And the fortress is exactly the fortress of Carcassonne in south of France. And what is a fortress? What does that mean? The fortress is walls around something. It's a protective something around something, like buildings or a village or whatever it is. That's a fortress. Okay, it's the same thing as the mother. The earth is surrounding the father. It's swirling around it. It's an embrace. It's grace. Through grace, we are activating now the light body. The light body is the vehicle that we are ascending in dimensions. So in that vision that I had, okay, everybody, like maybe not everybody, but a lot of people, and let's say I wish, and everybody will do it at the end, but everybody came together in the fortress. Then there was a chaotic period in time. Okay, it was chaos. And when the chaos passed, all the people who were inside in the fortress went outside and rebuilt up the new world. All that was outside of the fortress, all that was gone. Okay? In reflection, this means now this period of time, we are now in that chaotic period of time. The light bodies are being activated. That's the fortress. So everybody who will be in the light body will remain in the new world. All the people that are not having activated the light body through their consciousness will not be in the new world. Simplified. And that's now what's going on. So to go back on those people who are in the lower 3 chakras, they maybe are not ready yet in their life experience or evolution with their soul purpose to activate the 4th chakra, the heart. Because when the heart is going to open, the 4th and the 5th are connected with each other. The 5th chakra is truth. So when you are not ready to embrace the truth that is within you, to forgive the people who have harmed you, to forgive your father and mother through love, that is the heart chakra. Okay, the heart chakra in front is the will of the father. The backside of the heart chakra is the will of the mother. Okay, when it's opening, you have to go through the process, embracing your karma, and forgive everybody who have done something wrong to you as the reflection. So you have to see yourself and look yourself into the mirror. And then the things that you have done towards another from the past, you have to embrace them. And that's connected to the reptilian brain. Okay, if you go into the past, what the reptilians have, some of them have done, not all of them, absolutely not. It's not that all the reptilians are bad, absolutely not, because it's also connected to the evolution of the earth. You know, when the first evolution came, the dinosaurs, it's all part of the evolution of a planet. Okay, it's all about lower consciousness. I mean, if you look at the old age and we were like cavemen, we, as the masculine man, we pulled in the women into the cave and we just did what we want to do in that moment. And in some people, that consciousness can still be active. So they do the same thing, but they are still in that lower vibration of consciousness.
And that's okay. That's
to help
perfect,
them,
right?
Well, yes and no. We are still living in a duality, so we have to use discernment, what is right and what is wrong. We are learning what is right and what is wrong. On a high perspective, nothing is right or wrong anymore because it has a reason. And because there's a reason, it's okay. But it doesn't mean, I mean, now in this reality, to pull in a wife in your home and to do whatever you want is, in this consciousness of reality, not okay anymore. And I don't want to go dive into the deep things that are going on in the unseen reality of this world, because things are coming up now, what happened in the past, and also related to the galactic wars and everything. You're not going to be happy if you know that.
Some,
It's going to make you first angry.
along those
Okay.
lines, there are scientists now that have been teaching that with these limiting 5 human senses, that we can only perceive of about 1% of the actual reality of all that is, the great is that is the void.
Yes.
So that's
And that's
interesting
also
that you
related
say
to
that.
the first 3 chakras in that way. The physical body is connected to the first root chakra. The second chakra is related to emotions, your emotional body. And the third chakra is related to mental body, your mental projections. So those people in that consciousness also experience reality through the 5 senses in that vibration.
So much of
Okay.
what you're saying today is resonating with me on such a deep level, and I've never heard these things. I'm remaining open to the possibility of the limitless is that is all, and that is difficult to do when I'm stuck in my egoic mind. But this is feeling right, what you're saying.
The ego mind in that way is not developed in this way to create. It's developed to co-create and to receive. So at the moment that you stop receiving truth from your inner being of God itself, that you are actually yourself in essence, and you are spirit. So spirit created a father and mother to be born as a child, to have the experience of itself. Okay, and God the Father is love, and God the Mother, the Goddess, is grace, is compassion. And then the child is being born as the light that we are all. We are all that light. We are all the Christ.
So
if you look in
then,
this universe, yeah.
going back to that statement that consciousness informs itself through its creations, why do you think consciousness is doing that, and why would it need to inform itself of anything, and what's the purpose behind that information? What's the main goal?
What the purpose is the purpose, and the purpose is of life itself is the acknowledgement of life. The words that I use in my Patreon to work with, and it's always coming back because you lose yourself sometimes. You need to have reflection again, because that's how the system works. Okay, so I exist, therefore I am. And then you have the question, why do I exist? Okay, and if you want to acknowledge that, why you exist, you have to forget the reason why you exist. So you create a reality so that you lose your memory of the reason why you exist, to have that acknowledgement of that truth. So that's why Jesus said, I am here to come to testify of the truth. Kurda ati innati, umurdu kurda atanti shishi anti, iminyani. Okay, feel the vibration now coming down. It's a golden light from the sun. The Melchizedek sun, you can say so in this reality, okay? And then you feel the light of yourself, your true self. So we have forgotten who we truly are, and now we are remembering again who we truly are. And that's an experience. That's wow, woo, you know?
Yes.
It's like a child, you know, to play outside and to play.
There are many ways for people to wake up and start remembering. For me, it was extreme suffering.
Yes.
For you, was it the vision you had when you were 3 years old?
No, I suffered a lot in my life. And
So
I'm very
suffering
grateful.
also helped you as well.
I am so grateful for that suffering. I'm even grateful for, in one time in my life, I became very grateful for my dad, that he was as strict as he was in my life, because there was truth in it. And my mother, on the other hand, was very giving. She gave too much. And that's exactly what they represented. The father as representative of love, self-love, is service to self. Okay, it can be very egoistic in reality, but to be sometimes egoistic and only think of yourself, sometimes for somebody else, it can be exactly what that person needs. Depends on the situation. So that's why every situation is relative. You cannot judge the situation because it's relative. There are more perspectives.
To observe it as perfect, though, as it is,
yeah,
that's useful.
Yes. And then you're going to observe it. And when you do not have the knowledge within you and you're not connected with your higher self yet, you need somebody else to tell you that. So that's why you're going to contact the third thing you need, to wise people to reflect that. And this is why we are now connecting, because you had a connection with me, okay, and on the mountain, to reflect on that so that you can reconnect with your true self, who you truly are, until you don't need that anymore. And you're only in relationship with your true self, and then you're back in alignment again.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then you're enlightening yourself, and in this way you're enlightening all humans, all of creation, because that's how it works, because everything is a reflection of you.
That's beautiful. There's a man that I know. We're good friends. He's actually our financial advisor. I met him through my sister at a holiday dinner. His name is Ferenc Toth. And I asked him one day, Ferenc, what are your secrets to your successful life? Because he lives this beautiful life. He's created beauty and joy in every way. And he helps others to do the same. And he said, two things. I got two secrets, and they're not secrets at all. He said, content. I read every day. And number two is connection with wise people that will empower me and not diminish me. And that's why I hang out with your sister. That's why we're friends. And I thought that was really beautiful. So you say source is number one, connection with source. And it's interesting how the other two instantly connect us on a human level with the number one thing. Through breathing and through others, we can then reconnect and reconnect. And I find that a useful tool or task, if you're going to use those words, which I know you don't like, but on the human level, that's beautiful teaching. I love that trio.
Yeah, and in this perspective, of course, you can use the word better. That's okay. I'm not going to judge that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, only when you are more aware of how creation works, things are changing.
Have you ever
perceive
reality. Sorry.
Excuse me, Pete. Can we have a little bit of a break?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah, like just a few minutes. Okay. I'll be right back.
Perfect. Sounds good. While he's on a break, I'm going to share a couple practices that I came into after meeting him, after Dravyn went off to the army. One was to begin repeating daily, no judgment, no criticism. I love you exactly as you are, and I don't expect you to change a thing. You are perfect exactly as you are, and you can become even better. Now, I believe there's a difference between what we truly are in the eternal scheme of things and the who that we identify as while in these human bodies. And this daily practice has empowered me to separate the two, identify as the light within or a divine spark inhabiting temporarily this human body that I can use as a tool to experience this human plane, this physical existence that we all perpetually and continuously are recreating and regenerating. And as humans, when we do certain things, have certain habits or beliefs or perspectives, which can all be upgraded any moment we choose to expand into a higher version of quote unquote the self, we can individually create something more beautiful. But just as importantly, if not more importantly, together as a collective whole, we can create and tip the universal scales and its balance into love and away from fear. Hey, welcome back. I was just I kept rambling on because well, it seemed like the right thing to do.
Yeah, well, yeah, follow your heart.
Now, I do have to say, I would love to speak for about another year straight with you. I've got to be off by 12:55, just for a prior commitment.
Okay.
And while you were gone, I was remembering something that you sparked within me as you were speaking. David R. Hawkins is an incredible author. He generated a scale of vibrational frequencies going from 0 to 1,000. 1,000 being Christ consciousness, Buddha consciousness, basically the highest vibrational physical form within this human reality. Zero,
Light
of
language,
course.
when you say about the vibration, then light language immediately comes.
Interesting. That word triggers me too. The word vibration, for some reason, has been kept down over the years. Movies have been made, books have been written, and for some reason, I don't know who or why, the word vibration is, they're told, take this out of the movie, take this out of your book, or we're not publishing. That's interesting. Vibrations are life. It's everything.
So in this way, also you're connecting with your field through the dimensions towards that dimension of reality. So you have to expand your energy field to connect to that vibration, and you have to be ready to connect to that vibration.
How can we do that best, do you think?
Expand. First have a love and light, and expand, and feel grace, compassion for your past, for yourself first, and then you can express that compassion and forgiveness towards others. And you need to have the wisdom and the insights in your consciousness to do that. So that's why I also work with a threefold flame. And those are the three basic energies or consciousness in this reality, in this field, is the blue flame of power or will, the pink flame of love and will, the will of love, of course, and then you have the golden flame of wisdom. It's also connect to Father, Mother, God, and the divine child. God, Father, God is blue, and Mother, the Goddess, is pink, and the divine child is golden. It's the wisdom.
So good things come in threes.
You can always relate to that. Sometimes people do not have the. Yes, always. The one, at the moment that the one starts creating, it's three. If you even look at the God particle, it's giving the two first particles mass with three elements. The negative element, I believe, is minus, minus, and plus, and the positive particle is plus, plus, minus. So that means that the God particle of the unity field is giving another particle mass. And even the negative particle is, in essence, positive charge, but only with one element positive. So also that is positive. You see? So the foundation is always positive. And because the God particle gives something towards itself, mass, existence, okay, means that there's something within us that gives us something, whatever it is. So the gratefulness, we have to be grateful that life is being given to us towards that one particle that we are in essence. So in that way, we are God, and we are also not God. And then, I mean, the not God is that we are a child of God. That's the difference of being God and being a child of God, okay? But you cannot say that you're not God. What it means is, if one cell in your body is not being loved by you, yourself as a human being, that particle feels rejection, okay? So that one particle or cell in your human body is rejecting another cell in your body, and then your body gets ill. That's also what they have seen in the cancer cell. The cancer cell is rejecting another cell. So in reflective motion, if you reject somebody else as your brother, as your sister, that will be reflected in your own body as cancer. And it starts with you, yourself. So at the moment that you are not loving your own father and mother in your life, okay, then something will develop in your body as a disease, dis-ease, because you're not embracing that reflection. And why can you not embrace that? Because we have forgotten that we are the ones who have chosen to be in this reality. We are forgotten that we are creating our reality. We have forgotten that we are God itself. Okay, and then it comes the confusion of the paradox. when you are disconnecting from your own higher self, okay, not realizing that it's you who's doing that for you, but you are criticizing that what has been given to you, you are disconnecting from your true self. And you stop following the will of source. You stop following the will of God. And then you create karma. What happens is you are disbalancing your own body in disalignment. So shadows come forth. You're not seeing the truth anymore. They will be reflected in your reality, and you're going to judge that, okay, through your own judgment. And then you get in those loops. And then you have to carry your cross.
And we
So
get
that's why
stuck in those
Jesus-
loops.
Yes. And then you have to stay in alignment as much as possible and to stay in forgiveness, even if the other person is doing something towards you and it's not rightful. You have to stay in your forgiveness and in your truth. Doesn't mean that you're going to do what the other is saying, but you stay in your truth, you stay in your observation, because you're not going to give that some kind of energy in that way, because you know that you're going to manifest that, okay? But you follow your own path. So you have to turn around, let go of this reality. As Christ has said, this reality is not of my world. This is not my world, okay? Because that reality is one of balance. So you have to turn around, let go, and follow the path of Christ in that way, to do the same what he did, not to follow him as a pedestal, because then there's possibility to judge from that perspective.
Mm-hmm. So acting like Christ is just an act. If we do like Christ, then we become as he was in human form.
Yes. And then you carry your own cross, and you will fall with your cross, and you will stand up, and you will say to your mother, look how I am building everything new. And that represents your subconsciousness. Mother Mary in that way represents the primal goddess of all that is, the void of infinite possibilities. Okay, and then the son's born. That's the son, the first child of God. You could see that as God the Father. And out of those two emanates the light that is the Christ. And then that will be reflected in a planet. And then you have mother, the mother within the Father will be reflected. Okay, so our subconsciousness is the mother energy, will be reflected through our consciousness in reality, and that represents Mother Earth. So we are connected to the subconscious of Mother Earth.
Where did you learn what you now know and teach?
Well, there are books that came across my path, okay, and I didn't read them all. Some I did, because when I'm really being pulled towards it, then I took some of them, but some were also contradicting towards itself, same as the Bible is. Well, even the Bible has truth. So I learned in a very early age to see every book, every reality outside of myself, to see it as a philosophy. The first book that I really like on a spiritual path that had my interest was the book of Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Life. But I didn't really read the book completely, because the guy who gave me the book told me a few things, and I got it. I was 17 years old. And that was that always say I know, and what is that you know? Is that I create my reality with my thoughts, and that every thought I have will be supported through the universe. You can call God, you can call spirit, whatever you can call it. The universe, doesn't matter. Every thought that you have will be, as a seed, will be put out into reality. And what you give away will get back.
And if we fertilize the
that.
seed, how do we fertilize that
Yes.
seed? Because if the thought is the seed, we put it out there. And then how do we energize that seed and make it expand into something useful and fruitful?
Yes, and the same way what the God particle is doing, it is giving it mass. So everything what you give more attention to in your reality will be enforced.
So focus.
But now it came into my life. And now I wanted to have control over my life. And some things, sometimes I had control over. Some things, like little things happened. The radio, I turned the radio on that could not be turned on. Something like that, you know. Other synchronicities came across my path. Like we are playing cards, and suddenly some cards fell out of it, and then another friend of mine, oh, William is again here, you know, something magical is happening in that way around it.
I've had similar experiences. It's cool.
Yeah, it's the synchronicities, and that's how spirit is communicating with you. It's not that you are doing that, it's your subconsciousness. It's the 95%, your subconscious, that the spirit, the God particle, is doing that, nobody else. And it's only showing you something, who you are, so that you can realign yourself with that, what you are. And it's not, there's no division within that. But if there would not be a division, there would not be a creation.
Wow.
So that's the paradox. And you
Something,
have to get out of it. Now I forgot what I want to tell, but
well,
yeah.
a little while ago, you were talking, and it sparked within me something that I hadn't thought of before, quite in this manner. But basically, we're putting something out, it magnifies and amplifies, it expands, and it comes back to us, and it's a creation.
Yeah.
But the way that we treat people, whether it's lashing out at them in anger or jealousy or pride, and we judge and criticize, is that just an inner reflection of where we currently are and who we're currently, being?
Yeah, there's always something that is a program that happens subconsciously, and that is what you're doing to yourself. And somebody else has done that towards you. And when you have not forgiven that, and you have not transformed that consciousness into love and light through grace, it will repeat itself in your subconsciousness, and it will be reflected. As long as it is needed for you to see what it is, until you have transformed that into your reality. And that's the main work that I do. I mean, in this time, your ego mind is not developed to know. When you want to know something in your reality, you want to control it. And that's an ego perspective. It's a personal perspective. It's conditional love. First, something needs to change in my reality before I'm going to do that. That's a conditional love. It's not unconditional love. It's not what you are. You are unconditional love, because you are ultimate free to create whatever you want. You are God in that way, in essence. You are spirit. You're completely free. And somebody else is also that, because that's a reflection of you. So you have to realize, really self-realize that vibration within your own system. And that's connected to your soul energy and consciousness. So you need to do the work to embody your soul into your physical body, and that is light.
That work,
and then,
that's the work I want to get to.
I shall keep it very simple. Yeah, as long as you are physical, okay, you have, you're not completely balanced. Okay, because if you are ready and you're completely one with your soul, with the Christ within you, you are completely of light. Even Christ in that time was not complete yet. He did that for us as an example. Okay, and there you can see this in different perspectives. Okay, some people say that he never died for our sins because we have to do it ourselves. But still, he did that for us to be that example. So in that way, he did die. So you can see this in different perspectives. Again, do not judge. Okay, and then you
keep
will
getting
be
that message,
because also judgment will be reflected back to yourself.
I love that.
So until Jesus, also Abraham Hicks talks about it. Jesus in that time was in the most of his life, in that moment in time, he was most, how do you say that, not in alignment. And still he stayed very well in alignment, and it depends which movie you look.
So he was vibrating on a very high level.
Yeah, he already was divine. He has learned that, especially in India, he could transform matter at will, whatever he wanted to do. So that he let that do it to him. And even Jesus as personality himself was not completely there anymore, because he was channeling Christ within him. Urda ate im, urda sahi, urda ata inti ishi annuku urda.
Reference Jesus and India.
Okay.
What's the relation there?
Yeah, in my reality, I know there are fake timelines and a real timeline. With Jesus, there's a part of what's in the Bible that is not there from his 12 until his 30s, I believe.
Sure, yeah. I always wondered where he was and what he was doing.
I have never really read them. Exactly, and I have not really read the Bible, only parts of it. I read the wisdom from Jesus out of it, because sometimes they say in the Bible, do not judge, and then 4 or 5 sentences they are judging big time. So and even I do not want to judge that, because it's what it is. The Bible itself has a lot of wisdom and a lot of also truth, but still, in my reality, you have fake timelines. Okay, that means those timelines, you can experience them as real, but on a higher level, they are not real, because they are based on disbalance. They are based on fear, and that's not real in reality. Okay, so, and then you have a real timeline. And I can share a lot about that in my life I have gone through. And to stay in my alignment of truth, I only focus now on my true timeline, and also who or what I've been in the past life, and also things that have now been revealed to me a few days ago even. But I don't want to put myself on a pedestal. The people who can see me for who I am, or have got the message from above, they will see who I am and what I represent in that way, and also for themselves. That's also why Jesus said to the apostles, who do you think that I am? And only Peter said that he was the Christ. And then Jesus said to Peter, this you have received from the Father. Okay, that means that through the conscience that Peter had in that moment, he received that message from his own wisdom, from the Christ within him. Okay, to communicate that to Jesus in that moment, who he is and was, through the reflection. Okay, and even that changed, because when Peter came out of alignment through the triggers around him, he also suddenly was not the friend of Jesus anymore. You see, so every day, every moment is a creation of now in this moment. And that's the threefold flame again. We need to have the power to stay in that alignment. And me, myself, I'm not always strong enough in this moment in time, always to be in alignment. Okay.
So the message
and
is.
I'm going to change. And I'm going to change this, because I'm now aware of my creation. Now I'm going to say, I am in alignment, always and eternally.
Yes.
You see? So through the reflection of my manifestation, I'm becoming aware of it. And then I'm taking the moment of now, of my freedom, and I change it.
So be here now, message and a practice.
Always. The real teacher always knows that it's still a student in that way. If you take that in reality as a teacher and a student, okay? Because at the end, if you are one with God in the primal consciousness, there's no teacher and there's no student, because you are. And always have been.
Wow.
That's what it is.
Speaking of flames, my wife, Carla, she had another question for you. We were talking about the star seeds before, which I had never even really heard of that much until you explained it. But also in your work, you mentioned a twin flame, and you refer to Kalina as your twin flame. What is a twin flame, and how is that different than a soulmate?
Okay. Let's first say that it's your own choice how you want to see that. Okay.
I like that.
Okay. If you look at source, if you have source itself, okay, you go back to what I already a bit have explained. Source is like sun in the void. That's a source of light. Okay. So you have only the one particle is moving into the void as one, and you have the void, that's two. So the void in itself is infinite. So that means it's like the goddess, it's like a circle. The particle in itself is a particle and is also like a circle, so it represents the infinite. If that one particle makes a choice, there will be two particles. Immediately, those two particles will be in the first dimension. That means that the void also is there as the third entity in existence. Okay, so you have one particle that comes aware of itself, and another particle, and then you have the third. So this means that the one, when the one becomes aware of itself, you have two. And that you could see as one soul in two. Can you follow me?
Yeah,
The
I like
same
that.
thing happens as you as a soul are choosing two parents to be born in as a child.
And then there's
So in that
three.
moment for you, those two parents are like a twin soul, where you as a soul can be born in and then have a body to embody as a soul. So then your parents in that way are representative as a twin soul. In this reality, our reality is out of balance. We are not completely in alignment of God. That's why we have a disbalanced reflection. Okay, we have to realign ourselves again. And we can go deeper into this, or the big game of polarity, the experiment of polarity. There are different stories about that also. You can even lose yourself again in that. Okay, I do not want to go into that. If you look at the sun itself, it's fire, it's the flame. So you could say it's a twin flame. Okay, but everything is light, and light, the element of light is like a soul, because the element of the soul is light. So then you talk about twin souls. Now, if you choose to have the definition of the sun rays, okay, then there will be a ray emanating out of the sun, and you can, if the sun has the intent as the God particle to give that ray a certain amount of quality as a mass, to give the color like a red color or an orange color, etc., then there's a ray. Okay, like Helena and I, we are born there are more blue rays, but we also represents the sixth ray, and that every cosmic ray has an element of existence. I'm not going to go deeper into that now. Okay, so you have more flames in your life, and they represent fire, so they will burn out your karma. They will reflect so strongly your own things that are still need to be transformed. They need to be transformed through the fire of love, through the fire of forgiveness, to the fire of grace and wisdom, power and love. So you need to have already the wisdom to embrace your feelings of being not good enough. And now I like, because you take, if you take one O out of the word good, the O of operate, okay, and operate, we operate from our heads, okay. You take out the O, one O of good, then the word God remains. So you will operate good in your head if you have God in your head. If you are one with God as source, then you will operate good in your head. So what you need to do when you're in your head is surrender to the brain cells in your heart, okay? Because your brain, there's also a brain in your heart. Scientists have discovered brain cells in your heart. So there's a voice in your heart who feels, who thinks, where you can listen to, that is connected to the God particle. In your own body, in the moment of now, where you are now, God is within you. The one supreme consciousness of all is within you. That's why Jesus always points out to the heart. And that God particle will always operate from love and grace. So if something is happening in reality that is not based on love and grace, it's not God. It's the illusion as the reflection for that, what is God, to acknowledge. Okay? And in that way, even that illusion has a reason. So still God's face is behind that illusion. And that's always a big smile, knowing that you're always safe. Okay? When you have realized that, you know you're free.
No fear, no death.
I have an example in my life. I had a frontal crash to a truck. Okay? And the only thing what I had a remembrance on is that I woke up in the hospital. I opened my eyes and I said to my mother, what am I doing here? But my father and my mother, they went through a hell within their own minds about, would I survive? You know, would I come out of that healthy after those 3 days to be in a coma? You know, I had amnesia also with my brain a bit, because I had a very big head discussion and I was working out a lot, so my body was strong. I flew through the window of the car, and the window was whole of glass next to me. And I survived, but I was really in shock and I was shaking, and 3 big guys had to hold me. And I was really in a shock, but my consciousness was not in my body. I didn't experience that. So the safety mechanism of consciousness within your life experience, you will not experience that.
How old were you?
The safety mechanism. So if you are experiencing something, wait. It was an activation because 1010, a code is an activation. It was 10 October in 2000. So
That's a while ago.
I believe I was 20.
How long did the amnesia last?
Yeah, I have to recount that. I'm it's not able now for my brain now because I'm really in this mode. So I don't want to think
That's
about
fine.
it now.
I respect that.
Yeah.
So you have a habit, I've noticed, of
a half year later when I was.
Sorry, there's quite a delay. You have a habit, I've noticed, of
Okay, I didn't hear you. There's
refocusing.
a little bit of. Yes, I need to do that because I know that I can get off track sometimes easily in a sidetrack.
Me too.
Because I have many different perspectives, and I have experienced different things, and sometimes to explain something, I need to go off track before I can bring somebody on track.
I got that.
That makes sense.
It does. So the difference between a soulmate and a twin flame, you say there's many flames in our lives that enable us to burn out our karma.
Yeah, let's simplify this. In my concept where I work with, you have a twin ray. Okay, so there's one ray, and that's actually the concept that people see as the twin soul. Okay, but the twin ray, okay, it's connected to the 8th and the 9th chakra. And that's unity between Father and Mother God. That's a direct ray that comes out of the sun. And that comes into your body because you have to look within yourself as a reflective energy. Okay, so when the twin ray, as the 8th and the 9th chakra is coming into you as Christ consciousness, and it grounds you into earth, so you have the masculine energy as Father, Son, the feminine energy as Mother Earth, and you are the child, and that's happening within you. That relationship within you will be reflected in your reality. So there's another ray, within the twin ray, it will go to another person in your connection in the moment. So you could say now, because I'm connecting with you now, Pete, you are now my reflection, I'm your reflection, that there's a twin ray connecting us in a certain vibration in reality. So I'm helping you now as a flame, and you're helping me as a flame also, in that way, because we are one, to get conscious of things. So you already are burning shadows within yourself because I'm enlightening you, and you are also enlightening me because I'm humble. We are one. Okay, I'm not putting myself above you because I'm within you.
Because you are me.
Who I am, and I am that I am. That's where I bow to. That's why I see you, brother, as also whole and complete, always, eternally. Because that's what I am.
And I see you as that.
And in this way, I activate also the truth within you as your resurrection, as the light body within you, to acknowledge you of who you are, as a child of God, as the Christ within you, in beingness. Also, Jesus has told us, like, what I do, you will do, and even more. So don't limit yourself as who you truly are. And do this through grace, in unity with the will of Father, Mother, God of all that is, and just say, show it to me, thy will be done. So, because of the polarization of the atom, and you can say the water atom as plus and minus, and the masculine as plus and the feminine as minus, and also the father is within the mother, so the plus is within the minus, and the minus is in the void, and that way the void is emptiness, but it's full. It's also within the sun in that way, so it's the yin-yang sign, and that's what we have to see and recognize in each other, okay? So that's a male and a female energy in that way, okay? And Kalina and I, we are now far enough in our development as twin flames to embrace that to embrace the shadows within us that are still being reflected in the Trinity of Spirit. Sometimes we still need to have a third personality who will reflect us, okay, who will trigger us, who will pull us, who wants to tear up our relationships. Also, Colleen and I are experiencing that by other energies. I can go deeper into that, what it works, but I'm not going to do that now because we are all also in our development. I would invite anybody to have a session or come to our Patreon and everything so that it will be an honest energy exchange in this reality, in energy. And you know what I mean about that. I always like to give things free, but even now I notice that I'm losing my energy in giving and giving. And I have to be realistic in my earthly body. Okay, we need to have food. And in this reality now, we need to have food, we need to pay. And that's the unity exchange of money, of course. So, yeah, it depends on what reality you are. So let's stay in the simplicity. If you have two rays as flames from the sun, come into your body with the 7 chakras. Okay, the 7 polarized chakras in your system, the 7 rays of the rainbow. So you will have 7 flames in this concept that will come into your life who are strong enough in your vibration to mirror you so strongly, okay, so that they will show you that what you are rejecting within yourself.
That's my wife. I love her for that.
So you have to be, yes. So you have to be ready to merge with your twin ray because that's really on top. And you have to let go of the whole physical attachment in this reality because the higher love, the higher heart is from a different other vibration than the personal love. Okay, and then all of that, what is in your subconsciousness, all of that will be transformed so that you can become completely body of light. And in this life, I have experienced that one time in my life, that I was completely one with my I am Christ's presence. And that's unbelievable, because I've been there.
And is it your belief then?
And after that, you have, say that again?
Is it your belief that that is available to every human to be able to have that experience within this life?
No, not in this life. No, it depends what people choose to do. And some people are not ready yet and they do not want this experience. The soul, on soul level, they are not choosing yet for that experience.
Yeah,
they will have in someday, because someday they will, they choose to have that experience again. Okay, I choose in this life to have this experience.
Can we?
Even Jesus came in this life to have that experience. Also, Abraham Hicks talks about that. Jesus only came for that experience. That experience to Jesus was connected to him as a son of God in one of the first dimensions that God has created, something else. So there's a different perspective. Can you follow me?
Oh yeah, always difference. Yeah, I do.
Yeah. So in one way, he just came just as we did as a brother to have this life experience. And the other way, he was embodying the Son of God to have that experience also on earth, to reach his own enlightenment in his complete universe, in his big body as the universe itself. And that has to do with his seventh transformation of the 7th spirit in his body, or the 7th chakra, to realize completely that he is a sovereign being. And he did that marvelously. And even now, it's still not in completion, because also Jesus has a feminine part, the goddess, that is now coming up to be completely embraced. Because if you look at the Bodhisattva vow, if there's one cell in your body not enlightened, you yourself are not completely enlightened. So you are coming back again to do the work until you're completely done. But what that means, enlightenment, we can talk about that another 2 hours maybe.
Yeah, actually this, I've got to be at a different place very soon. This is, in my opinion, a horrible place to finish. I'd rather not finish this conversation ever.
Okay, wait. Don't do this, because then we're going to have a horrible experience of finish every time.
Huh.
Do
Yeah.
you understand
I get
the
you.
loop?
I do. This is the perfect place for us to say to be continued. And
Yes.
that's the creation I want with you. That's the connection I want to keep having with you, because I look at you as an individual who, for me and for my son, you're an amplifier of energy and vibration. When I connect with you in any way, I feel expanded, and I feel more light and energy and love. And for that, I thank you. Is there anything besides your website that you would like to share? I know I am William Melchizedek.com. It's a beautiful site.
Yeah, WilliamMelchizedek.com. Then you have patreon.com/William Melchizedek. That's where I have my platform where I do my work. Also, I am William Melchizedek. That's my YouTube channel. And I'm only posting something, of course, when I do that. Yeah.
And you're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
That's everything what you can find for me to connect with me.
And
Instagram also William Melchizedek. No Twitter. No.
Thank you so much for your constant contributions.
You're very welcome, Pete. Thank you for this window of creation to share.
And I hope to reconnect with you soon in this way, so that we can share more of what you have to share with everyone who's interested and who's seeking, so that they can be a finder rather than a seeker, and expand into a higher version of themselves through you. Thank you for being an amplifier. I appreciate you.
Thank you. I'm sending much love, light, and blessings to you and to everybody who's listening to this. Kurdati Shinta Atu Puriani Kiantu Urdata Minyani. And so it is.
We'll talk again soon. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, brother.